Thank you, Sanchita and the Center for inviting me to speak about some of the points that I plan to speak or bring to your attention has been referred to by earlier speaker. Steve has done it, and of course, most importantly, I'll try to make 4 points that somehow been addressed, partly referred to Navine, Murshid, and Steve, both. What are these 4 points? First of all, we cannot and should not be discussing the Rohingya issue without taking into account the geopolitical and geostrategic situation that Myanmar has either inadvertently or willingly, I would say very willingly, have jumped into. The second point that I would like to mention, we talk about China more, increasingly in any conversation about Rohingya, and especially in the last 2 or 3 days we have talked about China, right? The China stuff. China is not alone. We have to take into account. We have to, China should bear the responsibility as they do, but it should not be only China. There are other players who needs to be taken to task if we really want to talk about it. The third point is what Myanmar will do given the ICT situation, and particularly what we should expect. Steve has focused some of it, but let me reiterate those. And the fourth point is what exactly can we do? What the Western nation, United States and Bangladesh can do it. So let me start with this situation with respect to the geostrategic consideration. Some of the points we already know. Since the 2017, and of course the crisis is not from 2017, I understand that, but the global attention has been drawn in 2017. And since 2017, in some ways, we have talked about it, the multi-billion dollar deal that has been announced recently when Xi Jinping landed in Myanmar. Kayak Payu project that we know of, Why Kayak Payu holds a special significance for the country? Kayak Payu is the terminus of this huge natural gas pipeline, right? China wants to bypass Malacca Strait, plain and simple, because it is a choking point, and they're going to do it at any cost. Given China's energy need and its dependence on energy imports, it is going to find out, or it will try to find out a way so that it can bypass the Malacca Strait, which has become an issue for them for a long time. But it's not the only thing, the Malacca thing. If you look very closely what we have seen from Southeast Asia to Indian Ocean, to Arabian Sea, the coast of Africa, the Mediterranean, the North Sea, even in Latin America, China in recent years has acquired outright ownership, development rights or management concession to strategically located ports. So it is a larger plan of the China. Some of them call it, string of pearl. You may not use it because in many instances it's not. However, it is fact that Chinese port deals in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Djibouti, Maldives, Seychelles, which have made headlines, but it has put China in a very commanding position as a formidable naval power in the Indian Ocean. And that is what China has been aspiring for the last 2 decades, even more than that. That's why the Chinese the importance of Kayak Payu is right in the middle of this thing. Navine has mentioned that Myanmar is basically the land bridge between South and Southeast Asia, and also what we have seen that this is the presence of the Chinese in Myanmar. 6 major BRI projects, 2 of them involves Kayak Payu and that part, just 2 out of 6 major BRI projects in Myanmar, 2 of them are located here. So as you can see how important it has become for China, and the entire Myanmar's discourse about the development projects seems to be tied to this so importantly that you simply cannot ignore the fact that this is how the game is going to be played. The great game, I mean. I'm not talking about playing with the lives of the Myanmar, the Rohingya. And we haven't talked about the refugee crisis, and others are going to talk about it. My point is to put it, just look what we are up to. And I say we because we are fighting a battle that is going to, at least will try to provide justice to the people who are left and have been forced out And not only them, 600,000 are living inside. And most of them, if not most, at least 150,000 that I know of, and Steve knows better than I do, practically in detention center, literally in detention center. And you are fighting against this, a military-backed government, despite the face of the Myanmar regime, civilian face, and Aung San Suu Kyi. It is a military government. Let's make it very clear. And the shots are taken by the military. They are the ones who decide all these things. Now there are gas lines, there are railway lines, and of course we have seen all these projects, including the deep sea port. China and Myanmar, and there are other border issues. China and Myanmar, overland trade through China-Myanmar borderlands comprises over half of the U.S. $11 billion bilateral trade. So almost $6 billion, $6.5 billion we're talking. Cross-border trade with Myanmar is vital for Yunnan province. Myanmar shares almost 2,204 kilometer land border with China's Yunnan province and Tibet Autonomous Region. So these are not the only infrastructure developments, especially the ports and the dual use of ports of China. All these ports, in case of Djibouti, we know that the China, when the port in Djibouti was constructed, initially it was told that it is not a dual-use port, and you do understand what I mean by dual-use port. It can be used as a military one, and in case of Djibouti, they have already turned into a military facility. China's increasing policy of dominating not only the naval, formidable naval force, it wants to demonstrate its power. And gone are the days that China is going to simply, first, their cultural things, second, their pocket. Now they are going to exert their military might. Pure and simple. They will show it, demonstrate. They might not use it, but they are going to show it. They are going to show it. And thanks to the US policy of simply retreating from Asia, step by step, that has become easy for China to take this battle. And China is going to demonstrate that military power so that they don't have to use it. And this is what we have to understand, that if we think that the Rohingya crisis is isolated from all these things, and as if the humanitarian gesture of Bangladesh is going to solve this problem, we fool ourselves. But that is what it is. I'm going to say it, we are fooling ourselves. There's no reason for doing that. The second point, look at the FDI. Who is on the top? It's not China. I'm not exonerating China. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not here to defend China. China is the worst player because they have the power. And we have seen they have used it, right, 2 days ago? they didn't allow the United Nations Security Council to have a joint statement. No action. We're not talking about action. We're simply talking about a joint statement of a UN body. UN's only legitimate legal body is ICJ, right? United Court of Justice. They have come up with an instruction, clear instruction. Yet, UN Security Council couldn't come up with a simple statement. So China is going to do it. China will continue to do it. But Stephen mentioned about the Malaysia's role. On the one hand, in ASEAN, they are talking about as if they are the one that are protecting it, and then investing in Myanmar. Singapore, look at the Singapore situation. It's the largest, and then if you very closely look at one country, Japan, right? Japan is Myanmar's 6th largest direct investor, 3rd largest importer of Myanmar product, the 7th largest exporter to Myanmar. It has not imposed any sanctions against the Myanmar military officials, rather calling all sorts of sanctions as utter nonsense, and I'm not making it up. That is what the Japanese position is about. The Japanese ambassador to Myanmar stated in a press conference in Yangon on December 26 that his government firmly believes that no genocide was committed in the country. And I'm quoting here. And before the ICJ, it says, ICJ will not issue a ruling for provisional measures against Myanmar. That is, he hopes for. Uh, Japan has also opposed the establishment of independent fact-finding mission and supported Myanmar in creating their own fact-finding mission, which now, right before the ICG-1 was quote-unquote published, and then, and Financial Times, right, FT, Aung San Suu Kyi wrote one, what is the policy? I will come to that, because that is a very significant op-ed that FT has published, in my understanding. In October 2019, Japan's Ministry of Defense officially invited Min Aung Hlaing, and you know, he's the highest ranked military official who bears greatest responsibility. So, and then, you know, India's position we cannot simply ignore. You know, Min Aung Hlaing not only went to Japan, he also came to Delhi. Red carpet was there too. The third point is what the Myanmar will do. Clearly, as I said, the Financial Times one is the indication. It will take time. It will try to buy time, you know, because they're pretty much sure that if they continue to do what they're doing, at one point there will be what we describe as a donor city, less interest. There will be another crisis somewhere, and the international community is focused on them. And that is what they are going to do. The fourth point, let me finish with this. What to do? Rakhine has become the site of this long game, the great game. Let us acknowledge it, start from there, you know, and then, I think Bangladesh made a serious mistake in 2017 in signing the bilateral thing at the prodding of China. They made a devastating thing, and UN has done the same thing with respect to the memorandum of understanding they have signed, and now they are trying to renew it, right? Am I correct?
They've already renewed it.
They have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, China and India.
Yeah. And then, you know, when the ICG proceedings are going on, right on that week, Bangladesh sends its chief of military staff to Myanmar. What kind of message are you sending? No. Am I getting it wrong? I don't think I'm that stupid. I'm stupid, but not that much. I mean, I get it. You know, you're sending a clear message. Bangladesh should actually join the ICG's, you know, Gambia's one. And I have read the entire document that came out of it. President of that ICG actually indicated, tacitly indicated that Bangladesh should, because the point did came out. I think if we consider as a part of the civil society, we have a role. We have a role in the sense, what I think if the International Human Rights Organization, right from Amnesty and others, there should be a BDS movement against Myanmar. If the international community, I'm not talking about the international governments, I'm not talking about the US government, I'm not talking about whether you can do it, but of course if the international human rights groups and the rights group everywhere wants to do something, the first step I think at this point is BDS. However limited we can start it, we should start it as soon as practically possible. At least there should be conversation about it so that it puts a little bit of pressure on it. I don't know whether that is possible. You know, the FDI thing, I didn't use these things, Japan, you know, after falling 14% in 2017-18, because that one, when the crisis or this part, you know, it has increased this year. Everyone is going back to do the business. They think everything is fine. Everything, 3 years later, everyone has forgotten about this thing. So, to do so, this is the moment to call for a BDS movement. At this point, I think that's the way to go forward. Anyway, thank you. Sorry for taking more than 10 minutes.
Thank you.